Hello everyone and welcome back to For Dummies KH. In today's video we're going to be talking about web components. I'm going to be going over what they are, why they're important, and some companies that use web components. So first off, what are web components? They're basically web technologies that are used to create reusable custom elements. The way that I understand it, they're kind of like plugins, but for web development. And they can be used with any JavaScript library or framework that works with HTML, and a lot of sites use HTML, so these are very, very widely accessible. Web components are based on four major specifications, which are custom elements, which are the foundation for designing new DOM elements, shadow DOM, which defines how to use encapsulated style and markup in web components, ES modules, which define inclusion and the reuse of JavaScript docs, and HTML templates, which handle instantiation of fragments of markup for later use. Now, if anything that I just said didn't make sense to you, just make sure to hit the links in the description, because they do a better job of explaining exactly what web components are, what these different specifications really do. So I didn't learn any of this by myself, so neither should you. And yeah, so now, why are web components important? So one thing that makes web components so good is improved accessibility. So once you write a web component, or somebody else has, you can basically use that web component wherever it's applicable. You can create and use custom elements to tailor your application to account for all users. And using a custom element is really simple. All you need to do is import it and use the new tags in an HTML document. So pretty much once you've made a custom element, or somebody else has, it's about as easy as copying and pasting. And this makes building a website from the ground up a lot easier. You don't have to individually code everything. A lot of the stuff's already out there for you to use, just like plugins. And this makes designing websites from scratch much easier and faster and more widely accessible to everyone. It's also future-proof. Today, technology gets outdated so quickly. Older methods usually get left in the dust, but web components are kind of not susceptible to that. They're literally made for serving multiple purposes, and compared to frameworks, which change frequently and render older versions useless, web components by design can be easily altered at any moment to fit the current situation. So why is all this important? Like, why have you not heard of web components if I think they're so important? And that's because professors usually suck in college, especially in IST. So they don't teach you really what you need to know. So if you don't believe me, just look at some big companies that are using web components. The first one is EA that you've seen on screen. They use web components in their site, and if you inspect the source code and look through it a little bit, you'll find these EA containers, and you'll wonder what those are. Those are web components. So if I just go through a couple of these, you'll see this one is for FIFA. This one's for Madden. This one's for Apex, Star Wars Squadrons. So like EA is a big video game company, and they're using web components. What these containers basically are is, rather than making a new page for all of their different games, they import the same web component and then just change the format in order to fit their whatever game they're doing. It makes companies that have a lot of pages, like I'm sure EA has a page for every game that is in their database. So rather than having to manually code all of those different pages, using web components makes that so much easier. Another company that uses it is YouTube. You can see on screen, they got their pop-up container. And Google also uses web components, so that should be a good indication of how important and valuable they are. And it's for all these reasons that I believe that web components really are the future for web development. Well, I hope you were able to learn something from all this. Until next time, peace out.